Hi, this is Steffi from Steffi's Beads and Baubles, and here is the piece I'm going to show you how to make today. It's a cross ornament, and I've used a real translucent color, but in this, and with a purple, like a metallic purple in the middle. But I show you how I pick the colors, I show you how I do each step, and it's a complete tutorial. I go over the edging again, because a lot of people have asked me about the edging. So I go over it all again, and I hope you'll enjoy it. I'll be right back with the instructions. To start, I thought I'd show you the whole process this time, which I usually do not. I set up my ring light. I'm hoping that this time it will have plenty of light for this video. I've got 2 lights on me. So I decided I would stamp it out in a lavender purple. And so I am taking my cookie cutter, and then I'm placing it on the felt like this and just pressing hard. And then you can see it leaves a nice mark. Now that time it slid. I normally use both hands. I'm holding the camera while I do this. I will continue. I'll make a couple more because I'm going to film how I do this, but then when I finish the first one, I will make a video, a short intro to this video showing you the finished one, and then the second piece will be the one that if I have to show you any more detailed work, I can do that. But I might be able to, if I'm going to do it this way, I might be able to just use the one. But that's the first step, and then I'm going to cut these out with some detail scissors, and you just cut very carefully. And let me come back and I'll show you how I cut them out. I really want to make this a thorough tutorial, so hold on, I'll be right back. These are the scissors I use. I have a spare pair. They are Singer Nano Tip. My son bought me these. When I asked him for sewing scissors, he bought me every kind of scissor. I already had one in blue and one in pink, but over the years I'll need more than one because I use them a lot. But this is the one I use. I used to use tiny little sewing scissors. And those work great for the little details, but it really hurts your fingers. You need the bigger thing. And I found the best way for me to cut them out is I rough cut them first. I'll go around the piece like this. And I just get them rough cut out like that. And then I'll do the second one. I'll probably only need the 2 because I forgot I'm going to do this tutorial from A to Z in front of you. Okay, so once I get it like that, then I will slowly start just staying on the line and cutting it out. And you just have to be really particular. Just stay on the line, and it's a pretty good size. If you press pretty hard, you're going to get a pretty thick line. And just do your best. You're not going to always be able to do perfect. Just do your best to stay on the line as best you can and cut. And the reason I decided to do a more detailed tutorial this time is I feel I owe it to you guys. I started this channel with the intent then when I get like a big chunk hanging like that, I'll just go straight up and cut it off. It makes it harder when you have chunks hanging off. So every so often, and see, I'm just cutting along the edge. Anyway, I started this channel with the intent of giving you regular content, and then literally weeks after I started the channel, I found out I was going to be babysitting my then, I think, 9 or 10-month-old granddaughter full time, and I didn't want to let my channel go, and I tried very hard to keep up with things, but things quickly went crazy. And then last year my husband had to have back surgery, and then we ended up going out to California to take care of my mother-in-law, and it seems like last year really was crazy. So you're going to see that I cut it out pretty close to perfect. You're not going to always be able to cut out perfect. And then I'll cut the other one out also. And don't worry if you overstamp like that, because you turn it, so I always turn it at least, so that The ink, especially when I'm only beading the front, because it's going to be an ornament, so there's no need to bead the back. Now if you want to make this for your car, let's say you're going to hang this up on your car mirror, then you're going to want to bead both sides, or sequin and bead both sides. At that point, it still doesn't matter because you will not see any ink once you've got sequins and beads over it. I've been doing this a long time, and unless it's a white piece of felt and I'm using clear or white sequins, I don't worry about the ink because you're never going to see it. And the neat thing about felt is it releases the ink very easily. So if you were going to do clear sequins over this purple and you didn't want to see that ink on the back because you were going to bead the back, then you would simply take it, gently rinse it under water, and that ink will come right out. I've never not had it come out. You can see it goes pretty quickly. I can't show you, unfortunately, too much of the details of my cutting because I want to be able to see what I'm doing. But you get them, and now you're going to want to put them facing the same direction. So the ink will both be facing the same direction, and that's what the two will look like when they're cut out. So now I'm going to choose my colors, and I'll come back with my tray and show you what I chose for this very pale lavender, almost pink. This is one of those colors, it could be a pinkish purple, could be a pink, could be a purple. It's a very pretty color. I got it from Hobby Lobby. Do they have a name on it? No. But it's 1 millimeter. I paid 33 cents. It's a 9x13 piece. It says 2018, but that doesn't mean anything. Once in a while, felt will go on sale for 50% off. It doesn't happen often, but when you see it, you can grab a bunch. And I still do, even though I've got a lot of felt. And I have noticed that over the years, felt has gotten a lot smoother and more consistent. Some of the felt in past years was very, like you'd hold it up to the light like this, and you can see the variations in thickness. But it's still overall a pretty thick fabric. But some of them would be almost too thin, and when you try to cut, if the edge was on that thin part, you couldn't even edge the piece because it would just tear out. So I'm very pleased with the consistency of the new felt. It feels really good. It has a nice feel to it. It has a nice thickness to it, and everything cuts out in beautiful shape. And it's funny, the smaller pieces appear darker than the lighter. So let me go get the sequins and everything up, and then also when you're done with your cookie cutter, you can take a wipe, even a baby wipe, that ink will come right off. These are cookie cutters I got online. There's quite a few cookie cutter companies, and I think they have maybe a 3D printer or something because they print these out in plastic. And I've bought quite a few, and they're pretty durable. They don't feel flimsy. Of course, being plastic, I'm a little more careful with them, but I'll wash that ink off, and I used a color box ink. I believe I got this at Hobby Lobby. This is my favorite. I do use pretty much any kind, but color box, it says it's permanent, but I'll show you. I'll take a baby wipe and show you how the ink will usually come right off of that plastic. Now, being that I'm never going to use this for a cookie cutter, I don't care if it all comes off perfectly, because I'm never ever probably going to use this for cookies. There are some cookie cutters I use for cookies, and I also use for this, and I just make sure I clean them really well. I have on a rare occasion had a cookie cutter that would not release the ink. But as long as I'm not going to use it for cookies, that's okay. Doesn't bother me. But you can see I got most of it off. There's still a little bit. But a Clorox wipe might do even better. But as I said, I will never use this for cookies. So a little bit of ink staining on it doesn't bother me. That'll be just fine. But you can get most of it off and get it so it doesn't leave any marks on you with a baby wipe. And I always keep baby wipes in my studio for that reason. So I'll be right back and I'll show you what I picked. Now, I've never really shown you how I choose sequins, so let's do a little bit of that right now. I have my piece and I have it on a beading mat. I like beading mats because it makes it easy to pick up your sequins and they don't slide around. And on felt sticks, like if your hands are a little bit rough and you go to pick up something, it will pull the whole fabric up and your beads will scatter. These do not do that. They're smooth. You get 3 of them, I think, for $3 at Hobby Lobby. But if you have your 40% off coupon, then you can get them for a little bit cheaper. But you can pull out what you want to look at and decide if you want to go for a dark. Because I have a whole box of purple. It's a shoe box, and these are all my purples here. And I've got a shoe box full of purple. So we're going to decide what color of purple. Now see, I have, I think these are both the same thing, medium purple. And these are an opaque crystal that I get at Cartwright. This is a 5mm and this is a 6mm. Now you would not think the difference in size would be that big, but it really truly is. I like that. But I want to see what else I have. Now this is a vintage sequin I have that's really pretty. I might consider that one. This one is an iris, which is a real pretty opalescent sequin that I just got. So usually this is what I'll do, is I'll pull, this says periwinkle, but to me, I'm not really sure if periwinkle is purple or blue, but it looks purple in this case. And I've got satin sequins. I've got all kinds. Now see, I don't really want to use anything dark like this or this kind of an off. This is a vintage sequin I bought 20 years ago. I don't like how those go together, and I don't think I want to use a dark purple on here. I think I want to keep with these nice muted purples for this one. See, here's a light purple, and this is a satin. And satin is just like, it's like satin paint. It's got a little bit of a glow, but it's not reflective like the opalescent or the other ones that just turning my phone on silent because I just realized I hadn't done that. These are some really old Cartwrights. This is from when I first started buying from them. These are a slightly cupped medium blue, so they look purple though, so that's why I had them in the purple. They are not blue. Those look purple to me. So that's kind of interesting that they say blue. There's opaque sequins, and opaque sequins are just like it says. They are an opaque color. Now I have these that I believe I bought at Joann's. Again, they are a dark purple and some pretty crazy big and square hologram sequins. I'm not going to use those. I kind of like this one. It's a metallic light purple. I think that would look really pretty on here. And pretty much what I'm going to do is outline with one color and then fill in with another. Perhaps putting one piece in the middle that's a little bit bigger, but I don't really have a big one. So what I might have to do is find maybe a clear sequin that I could use in the middle to kind of put, see, there's a dark purple, and these are an opaque. And opaque have a little bit of reflection to them sometimes, but most opaque are just that, they're opaque. Alright, this is also a pretty color. This is an opaque crystal, which is one of my favorites of theirs. They are cupped a little differently. They have more of a rim on them, which I'm not as fond of. I prefer this style of cupped where they're flat and it doesn't have an actual rim. The cupping just kind of comes up a little bit. Same with these. You can see they have that little bit of a rim. Where these, the cup goes out a little flatter. I don't like these thick ones when I'm doing ornaments because they make it a little, I will use them, but they make it a little bit harder. So I think I'm going to do this one for the outside because it's a metallic. And then for the inside, See if I have a real light, pretty. I don't want anything too tiny. See, I have this light, this lilac, but it's a tiny, I think it's a 4, and that would take a lot more time to put on there, but they would look good together. I don't think I have that in a larger size, which is kind of odd, because I've got 2 of those light purples. I normally buy in a 5 or 6 millimeter, so it's kind of odd that I purchased that one in a, I actually have 3 light purple. That's why I've started, when I order now on Cartwright, I put them in my cart and then I get out my buckets and go through them. One of these days I'll inventory, but it's so many sequins to write down. I don't know that I'm ever going to have the time to just sit down. Now see, these are the Iris Opalescent. Again, they should be in a bigger size. I'm pretty sure I bought the bigger one. There's a light purple, but that's an opaque, and I really want this to be a reflective piece. And this is why I usually don't show this process, because it's quite time consuming. It takes a little bit of time to decide, because you want to make sure the 2 colors, once you decide on your outside color, then you got to make sure the inside color. See, I don't want to do 4s. This is a light purple. Those are light purple. This is actually that medium blue. I'm sadly lacking in shades of... Now here's that iris. So I may have to do like a light purple on the outside, or I may do the iris on the outside because they're bigger. Do these on the outside and fill it in with the light purple. And these are very opalescent. I just got these. They're really pretty. So let's open these up and see what we think. This is the next step. Once I've kind of decided, I open up the bag and I see what the 2 colors look like together, or if it's got many colors, the several colors. But I never show you this because it's very time consuming. So if you look down here, there's that reflective purple, and this is a 5, and then there's a 6. I think those 2 will look really pretty together for this cross. These will go on the outside like this, and these will go on the inside. I like how that looks, so I think that's the route I'm going to go. I really want something for this center, so let me go look around and see if I can find something, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I've gone through, and my whites is one of my bigger boxes. This is a sweater box over here of whites and off-whites. So I pulled a few out that we're going to look at and see what we think. Now these, there's none really big enough. These are the ones I got from Tuesday morning. Really pretty, but I don't think there's anything big enough. Same with this one. Real pretty. That I don't think any big enough. Now this, I have what's called White Wedding. These are 10 millimeter. That'd be perfect for the middle. Now these are 8 millimeter. These are from Hobby Lobby, and they're just a white iridescent, and they're an 8, I believe an 8 millimeter, yes. Then I have this one from either Michaels or Hobby Lobby, and I have this large hologram, but I just don't think a hologram would look good for this particular project. But these are nice because you get 3 different sizes, and I can't remember if they're Michaels. I think these might be Michaels. Let's see if it says on the back. No. They're either Michaels or Joann's that I get these 3 packs. So let's go with this white iridescent. It's not going to be as big as I wanted. Excuse me. Had a little bit of a dry throat this week. But what I could do, whoops, I just threw a sequin at myself. Oh, it must be on the floor. These are a 10, so I could layer, as you know, I love to layer. I could layer and put a 10 millimeter in the middle, right where I want it. If I can get you down there so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, I can put a 10 millimeter and then put this 8 on top. and make that my center. And I will probably put that on first, tie it on, knot that, and be done. Then I'll do my edging, and I might even put one more piece on there, because what I could do is actually put one of the, I could put a clear on there. That would be pretty, because I have these clears. So I could put a smaller clear over top of that. You know how I love my stacked sequins. See if I have like a 6. I don't know if I do. Yes, I do. Put a 6 on there. See what I think. Oh my goodness. The ones from Tuesday morning tend to hang on your hand. And they stick and you're hard to work with. Yeah, it kind of takes that iridescent and magnifies it. So I think that's what we're going to do. So I will be back when I have my seed beads and my thread and my needle all set up. And we'll go ahead and stitch this piece on. And then we'll start stitching the edge on. So I'll be right back. So I wanted to show you some of the different seed beads that I buy in bulk and that I use. Now these are a white opaque. They have absolutely no shimmer. They're just white opaque. And I don't use these often, but I do keep them on hand for when I want to use them. One of my favorites are these silver lined milky white. And I buy a lot of Toho brand. And these, I think that'll come up in the picture, have a real shimmery. It's called milky, but they have this really opalescent quality to them. So they're one of my favorites. Another one I use a lot is just a plain old clear. It's just pure clear. There's nothing, and you can buy these from anywhere. Then I'll use Cylon Snowflake. Cylon is like a pearly texture that's kind of opalescent. And then an actual pearl. Well, see, this is crystal. This is the same as the clear, but with a translucent luster to it. It's not plain clear. See the difference? Now this is also Toho. This is cheap. I do swear by Toho. I buy these 50-gram bags from Auntie's Beads. I don't get any kickbacks from any of these people. They don't know I exist except when I order from them. But Auntie's Beads sells these 50-gram bags, and I wait till they're on sale for 50% off. Then I get these Toho. This was from Art Beads, and I got this years ago. And this was also a big bag. And these are opaque lustered pearl crystal. And they have the pearl look and just a real pretty. This is just a clear that I bought at Hobby Lobby. This is probably a better quality than that clear I got online. This is not the opaque luster, but you can see the difference. These are cheap. These I paid $1.54 on clearance or on half price. There's definitely a difference. These are better. Then I have some purples here, and I might go ahead and use a purple for the edging, but I haven't gone through them, so I'll go through them with you. I have a bag. These are my purple. Now I do have a box over there that has purple in it as well. And I've got to pick if I want to do an opaque. Like this is again a purple. It doesn't say anything about. This was Hobby Lobby Bead Treasures. I think that's Hobby Lobby. Yeah. No, this might have been Walmart years ago. A lot of my seed beads are really old. Now I know I have that milky stuff in a purple too. Now this is a favorite of mine. This is a silver lined purple. Might work, it might be too dark. You just can't always tell. This is a hank of a really pretty amethyst. And you take and cut the strings and pull it off. That's a possibility as well. Now this is a lighter color, which might work well, and this is called Cylon Grape. It's that pearly color I told you. It has a translucent look that keeps it from being a true pearl, because it's almost got a, it's not clear, but it's not the opaque pearliness of an actual pearl bead. Cylon comes in every color, and they're very pretty. This is a lustered purple, but I don't know if I'd have enough. I don't have a ton of bulk in purple. I I have this one, which is really pretty, and this is Sugar Plum, again Toho's. This is Auntie's beads. There's lots of places to buy your beads. Now this one might be okay. I buy from Auntie's Beads, 50 grams. I buy from Art Beads. I buy from, those are Auntie's Beads again. This one doesn't have a name. And most of them are Auntie's Beads or Art Beads. Cartwright's, this is Cartwright's. They do sell big bags. This is 100 grams. I don't know exactly what they have, but a lot of them, they match their sequins as well. But Auntie's Beads, Art Beads, I don't know where I got this one. 50 grams of the opalescent, which is one of my favorites. And I might actually do the edging in this to bring out the center. Because looking at the purples, I think I'd rather do a white edge. So I'll put these purples back in their bag. These are an interesting one. I don't know what they are, but they're a purple. I don't know if you can see the turquoise and the purple in the same bead. I think they're lined in one color, and the outside is a different color, but they're gorgeous. But I think with these purples being a little bit off, I'd be better, and I could do a white, but I just really love that milky color. I think I'll put all the purple back in their bag, and I think we'll go with the, and I'll put the rest of these whites up. But see, we could do a pearl. That would be pretty too. I mean, any of these would work. I don't think I'd want to use clear though, because clear is it doesn't really register a color. I could do this Cylon, but these are big. These are an 8.0. They're too big. Although you could use them. And I certainly don't want to do a clear. So I think I'll do this. Gives it a little color. Not quite as bright white as this, but let me show you, see if you can see between these two the iridescence, like that opal look. See, these have like an opal sparkle to them, and these are a true pearly. They're a pearl crystal, and these are an opalescent. They're a white with an opalescent glow to them. They're very, very pretty. So I think we'll use those. I think that'll be nice. Okay, so now I'll be right back with a needle. I'm going to use this lavender thread because it'll go pretty good, but white is perfectly acceptable to this. And I'll be right back with the thread, or the needle. So I've threaded my needle, but being it's a full tutorial, I wanted to show you what I use. And I use a beading needle, and I'm not brand loyal. I've got quite a few brands. This is Walco. I buy a lot of the John James, I will be honest. That's probably the one I have the most. I have them in 12, and I have them in 10s, and I have them in 13s, and then I have Lance in a size 12. I don't know what needle I'm using. I will not lie to you. I have no clue. I also have this really nifty thing I bought from Hobby Lobby. It's a magnet, and I have some of my beading and regular needles on this, and when you want one, you just pull it off the magnet. Pretty cool thing. But I've been beading for 30 years, so I have quite a few needles. So anyway, we've got the needle threaded. I wasn't going to make you watch me do that. This color thread blends in with your skin, believe it or not. It's not fun to... So now what I'm going to do, I'm not going to be too crazy about getting in the middle, but I'm just going to do this. I'm going to kind of pick where I feel the middle is and come through as best I can. It's one of those things you can drive yourself crazy. Just try to get in the middle the best you can. And I mean, if you have to do it so that you're perfect, no problem, do it. But I don't have any desire to make it perfect. I just want to make it look as nice as possible. So I go up, I go back down, and then back up just to secure that knot really well. And then come right back up very close to where I came through the first time. Then I'm going to put on upside down the one I want on the bottom first. The one I want on top of that, facing down. I'm going to have the cups facing down so that when they're on the needle, they're facing up. And then that clear one. And then let me pour some beads out. Now this is where you could use This is probably where I will use the clear beads. I didn't think about that. For on top of the sequins, that is the best way to go, is to use these clear beads, because then they show the color of the sequin. So I'll probably use these clear for this. And so I'll pull a clear seed bead off the tray, and then I'm going to pull it down on top of the stacked sequins. Then I'm going to go leave the bead out and just go back through and kind of center it. As you're going, you can kind of make sure it's where you want it to be. Come back through, and there's the center of my cross. Is it perfect? No. There's no way is it perfect, but I don't care. But like I said, if you want it perfect, go for it. But I've never been about doing perfect. I've told you that from day one. I'm not about perfect. I just want to make it pretty, and I want to have fun. And it's like I don't measure when I hang pictures. I have had friends that get out the tape measure and make sure everything's perfect. I just eyeball it, you know, and I've never been upset with it. Now my husband, I won't lie, if he will only do that if we're hanging like 3 pictures in a row, then he gets a little bit anal about it. But I just don't. I'm just going to hang up the picture and whatever. I don't ever worry about it. Okay, so there you go. Now what I'm going to do is tie another knot in this, and I'm going to start going around the edge. And I will use the clear beads over these purple sequins. And I'm going to do the big ones first, because I think that would be prettier, and fill in the middle with the smaller ones. And I'll tell you why I'm doing that. Once you go around a decorated edge, like on that cross, I'm trying to get a nice big knot, so forgive me. And sometimes you get 3 knots in a row, and then you have to do the 4th knot to get them all to make one big knot. Okay. Once you go around this, it's going to narrow the amount of space you have. So going inside with a smaller sequin is not a bad idea. So let's start. I'm only going to do a few, and then I'll cut away and come back. And again, every sequin I'm going to put upside down on the tray, pick it up upside down so the cup is down. So when I flip it over, it'll lay right side up on the fabric. And I'm going to get one sequin, one seed bead, and then I'm going to put that on the thread, and then I'm going to go through there. Now this is not going to leave a whole lot of room in between there, see? So I may have to go around this circle with some seed beads, and I'll show you how I do that if that's what I end up having to do. Really, really easy, but it'd be fun to teach you something new. Again, I flip them over because most of them are facing up. Go through the back of the sequin, pick up a seed bead, and that way when I flip it over, it's right side up. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull that sequin as close to as I can to the one in front of it. And then I'm going to go back through, letting the seed bead hang, because that's what is going to hold it on. Now, if you can see here, I'm not happy with how this one looks. It's over too far. So you can come back up through the one. I didn't get that one placed perfectly. So go back up through it. I have to go back through the seed bead at this point because I haven't gone through it. And move it where I want it. And then go back through the seed bead to hold it on. And there, now I've moved it better. Then I'll go kind of slide through the fabric to go where I should go. Remember, nobody's going to see the back, so it doesn't matter what you do. Then I'll go back up here, and I'll put on another one. Again, face down on the, I'll turn it face down on the fabric. And then I'll pick up a seed bead. I know you can't see, my hands are kind of in the way. My husband has not had time to make that overhead thing. Okay, make sure the seed bead comes down, that you have it on the thread. Because there's been times I thought I picked up the seed bead and then went right through the sequin and out the other side. Then again, I take the needle, put it in the hole, and I scooch it over so it's right next to the one in front of it, and make sure that I keep the edges along the edge of the fabric. Make sure the bead is not, the needle is not through the bead, and then I go back through. Now I'm going to come back when I get this whole edging done, and we'll see if we have to do seed beads around the middle. So I'll be right back. I'm back. I've done the entire outside of the piece, and you can see there's just enough room to put a small row of the smaller sequins. So I'm gonna, when I come back, I'll be starting on the sequins, and I'm gonna start in this narrow area. I'm gonna come right here, and then I'm going to go up into this area, come around, go into this area, then I'll go down and do this and come up and finish here. So I'll get started and show you how I start filling it in, and when all this is filled in, then we'll sew it together. So I'll be right back starting on the purple. Now I've put dark purple thread on, but again, you can use any color thread you have. And again, I went up, leaving the knot on the back, then back down, and then back. I'm going back up. That just secures the knot and gives you a little bit more, you know, it's just security when you're, and I put a pretty long piece, and I use dark thread, but again, you can do all of this with white thread. And that's going to be hard. I got to move everything so I can reach it, because everything, the camera is like right here invading my space. So I'm going to pick up a sequin off the tray, and then I pick up a seed bead. Again, using the clear with the dark purple. And then I'm going to tuck it so it's right in between the two. I want it kind of nestled between the two rows, the outer edging and that center piece. So you kind of want to tuck it in there. The good news is it's real easy to do that. I'm going to do another one. And again, I pick it up upside down so that when I put it down, the cup is up. And then I pull it down, and tuck it between, pull it as close to the one in front of it as I can. Then the seed bead, I make sure I have a seed bead on the string, which I do right there on the thread. Then I go back through the center. I'm going to pull it, and that's going to tuck it right in the middle there. Then I'm going to go and follow this around, and sometimes it'll catch. That's the worst part about this kind of beadwork, is your thread's going to catch on the sequins as you work. Okay. Then again, I'm going to pull it down, press it down, tuck it in next to the one before it, going back through only the sequin. That seed bead's going to hold that sequin on. Now I'm going to try to put one right in the middle here. So I only have one between those two rows, right on the entrance of this section here. So I'm going to tuck one in there. And it'll fit perfect. Now pull it up slightly. The thread's got plenty of thread, so you can just tuck it up, kind of push it around with your needle till you get it tucked between, and then right in the middle. You can see I put it right in the middle between the two sides, pulling it down fairly close to the one before, and then securing it with the seed bead. So now I'm going to start, I'm going to fill in this end. So I'm going to fill in this end, and then I'll come back and, well, I guess I'll fill in the whole thing, because pretty much that's all you're doing. You're going to fill it in. When I fill it all in, I'll come back, and then we'll stitch it together. Well, I'll show you a couple more stitches just to make sure. If you're a beginner and you've never done this, just constantly you're going to be untucking your thread. It's going to catch onto those sequins. There's just no way around it. So you're going to keep adding your, and just to show you what I'm talking about, this is a close-up of the sequin. Now these are lightly cupped. Let me turn one right side up so you can see the cup. And if you look at it, it's got a slight cup to it. So you're going to want to put the thread through it backwards, because you want this cup up And if you pick it up from the back and then pick up a seed bead, when you thread it, it'll turn over and it'll be on your piece like that. Now sometimes people choose to put them upside down. I've only done it a few times. It gives it a totally different look. I've only done it a couple of times, and only because the sequin I was using was on a penguin, and the back of the sequin had a different color, and I think I used it for the feet. Because most sequins look the same on the front and the back, but some of them have a thicker iridescence, and it might be a different color on the back. So sometimes it can work in your advantage, but usually I want that cup up because I like the way the facet looks, and on some sequins the back isn't as pretty. But it's personal preference. But whichever you do, you got to do it the same way for at least each section. Like you could do this for one part and do another part, but you wouldn't want to do one, you know, unless you did a pattern like one up, one down, one up, one down. Maybe we'll do an ornament like that one day. But I usually do point up. Now I'm going to tell you, be careful with these needles. I just poked my finger with it, and it hurts. They're very, very, very thin. So they're very, very, very sharp. And they're very long, so you have to make sure you leave a long enough tail to tie it off when you're done. You don't want to run out. You don't want your thread to be so short. Now, if that happens, let's say you don't leave enough thread, and you're like, oh no, I can't tie it off on the back. You can do two things. You can either take a small sewing needle, the smallest sewing needle you have, and I have those too. I don't know if I have any in here. But yes, I have a bunch of needles here, all different sizes. But you could get the tiniest one you have, and there's not too many really tiny ones on here. I think I might have a shorter one, but you can look that there's a short sewing needle there. Look how much shorter it is. You can rethread the needle onto a tiny needle like that, and then what I do on the back is I come out after my last sequin and I loop around a couple of times. Like I'll put it through, pull it, put it through and pull it, then I'll go the other direction a couple times and back through that direction and cut it off. Now you can tie it off if you want, knot it, or you can put a dab of glue. I've never done it. I've never had one come undone. If I go through a couple times this way, a couple times this way, and I'll try to remember, I'll come back when I'm done with the purple, but before I knot it, and show you how I tie it off on the back. But I always put a pretty long piece of thread, and that can cause you a little bit of trouble with the tangles, but it's just, you got to get used to it. Now you can do shorter pieces and just go back, knot it, and start over. That's not a problem. I mean, you could do this piece and do each section separate. There's no, right or wrong about it. I've been doing this for so long that I have no problem using one long piece. But if you're just starting out and you don't like working with such a long piece, then you could do around the center, tie it off. Then you could do up in here and tie it off. Then you could do here and tie it off and do here. Whatever makes you most comfortable is what you do. I just am so used to doing this after 30 years. Oh, see, I'm talking to you and I'm not paying attention. You have to make sure you come up. Now, this is an odd little area here because it's not a full section, but you're going to see a sequin missing if I don't put one in there. It'll be mostly covered by the bigger sequins, but I'm still going to tuck one in that little edge. And this is where sometimes buying the smaller sequins in the same colors can help, because you can occasionally tuck a tiny sequin in a spot like that. Now see, it's like that. I just take the sequins, I lift the outer ones, and I tuck the inner ones underneath. That's all you do. Once the piece is finished and you tuck everything the way you want it, it'll pretty much stay that way, unless you handle it a lot. But if you hang it up, like let's say you decide to put this on your car mirror, or you hang it up on a doorknob, or wherever you're going to hang it, if you're not touching it, once you've arranged it the way you want it, see, it's not going to move too much, and you can just rearrange it if it does. If it gets handled or something happens, you can just rearrange it. But you're just going to fill in. Now, once I fill into here, obviously there's going to be a gap, so then I'll just tuck in the back, and I'll nip over to where I'm going to start over again. Let me see if I can show you that real quick. And I do that a lot on these pieces, is I'll either I'll go back in and get a section I missed, or I'll have a bottleneck like that that I have to get back through. And it's real easy. I'm just going to put a couple more, and see, I just tuck it way up under there. I stuff them. I really encrust them. You don't have to, but I really stuff them full of sequins. I want every inch covered. And especially when you're using a big outer one, it does make it easy to get these smaller ones tucked up underneath inside. Because the bigger ones have a larger lip to tuck up underneath. So see, like that one, instead of trying to cram it under there, I'll just put it through, see? I'll put it through, and then I'll tuck it when I'm done. And there it tucks in. Now, see how I've got to get through? I'm just going to take my needle and I'm going to tuck it through like this and just kind of do a stitch. Then I'll come back out right here where I want to be and just continue on around. So I'm going to come back when I get the whole front done in the purple, and then we'll stitch it together. I'll be back in a little bit. Okay, I'm back with the whole edge done, and I'm just totally thrilled with it. I'm hoping the light picks up the purple opalescence of that edging with the bright purple metallic. Now, the next thing I'm going to show you, which has been my biggest question and the biggest issue everyone's had with my tutorials, is doing the tri-edging. So I'm going to show that again. And I'm going to do a few steps of it, then I'll come back when it's done and we'll show you how to do the loop. But basically I'm going to do this. I've done an edging video and I've shown this on other videos, but I'm going to do it again. Best thing to do is start at a flat place on the piece and come in from behind like this. Make sure you leave enough of a tail. See, I don't have much tail on there. You want to leave enough of a tail, you won't pull it out, but you don't want to have it so long that it's dragging. So you're going to put that so the knot's on the inside. Now again, I'm going to go back through like I do on every time I reattach a thread. I go back through, leaving a good amount of string, you know, going over the felt a little bit before I go back down. Then I come back up approximately where I want to be. That just, you know, holds it, because felt can be very porous. Now once that thread is secured in the middle, you're going to put the front and back together. And just make sure you've got the, if you've stamped it out, make sure you got ink. See, there's the ink on the front and the ink on the back when they're both facing the same direction, so we know that they'll match up. Now, of course, cutting it by hand and not with a die cutter, it's never going to be completely perfect. Now, once you have them lined up, you're going to go to the back. You're going to go to the back. And then you're going to come back through to, and don't come through the sequin. See what just happened? If you do that, you'll have thread over the top of the sequin. If you see that, pull out and come back through there. Okay, now you're going to have to watch your thread, because tuck it behind, because it's going to want to go around the sequins. Okay, so basically you want it to go around like that. See? Now, for the first stitch, you add 3 seed beads, and I'm using these opalescent milky white that I absolutely adore. I'm hoping it'll bring out the white in the center. And you're going to go back through pretty close to the first stitch, about the width of a seed bead, and you're going to come back through just up under the sequins. They'll move out of the way while you work, keeping the thread behind as best you can. You're going to pull it. Now once you get that little triangle, you're going to go back up through the last bead of the triangle, and you're just going to pull that thread through, and then you'll see you have a little triangle. And here it is from the back. Now from here on in, you only add 2 seed beads, because once you have the base of the triangle, you're just going to add 2, and again you're going to come in from the back every stitch. And you're just going to kind of, it's hard to do this when I'm trying to show you. You're going to try to match it to the last stitch about the same distance. Come through, and again, don't go through the sequin. And don't worry if you go down too far. Like, you know, my stitches are not perfectly even on the back. I'll have some really low, some really high. Really doesn't matter. And then again, you're going to make the next triangle and go back up through the last bead you put on. See if I can get right under camera. Last bead I put on, I'm going to come up through. And I'm hoping this video will help, because this has been more than one person has asked me with help for this. So then again, add 2 more. Go back through the back again. You don't have to go too far back. You can go like right about here. You just don't want to go too close to the edge, because it is felt, and felt can pull through if you don't have a high quality felt. If it's an older, thinner felt, sometimes you'll pull right through. So you want to make sure you have enough room, and then there you go. You can see how with every stitch you're building another triangle. So I'll add 2 more and 2 more and 2 more. I'll do 1 more to show you, and then I'm going to break away and come back when this edge is done. So again, I'm going to go through the back and come out to the front, making sure I do not go through a sequin. And it's going to make another little triangle, and then I'm going to tuck the thread behind the sequins, go back up through that last seed bead I added, which was probably the first one on the string. I don't know. I don't go by that. I go by the last one in the triangle. And there you go. And it just keeps building this nice little triangle. And the stitches, you know, as you get used to it, you get more and more even. But I'm always going to have a few longer, a few thinner, but you do get a pattern going. So I'm going to come back when I get all of this done and show you how I finish it off, how I do the last stitch. So I will be back when I'm ready to do the last stitch to show you how I finish it off, show you how I knot the back, and then we'll do a loop. So I will be right back for you. It'll be a little bit of time for me. So I'll be back in a minute. I wanted to point out that when I'm going into corners or like up ridges, I will sometimes only add 1 bead. That's what I'm doing right now. I'll just add 1 bead to go down in that little hole, or to go up over like I did when I went. I'll show you real quick. Hold on. But I just put on 1 bead for this corner. And let me show you that you can't really tell, but it makes it a little easier. So when I went up this little corner, see these little corners? When I went up, I just added 1, then I put 2 full stitches, then I put 1 in here, and then I'll go back to 2 stitches. This is gradual enough, I probably don't need to do it, but I'll probably put 1 again when I get here, 1 again when I get here. This will be fine, and I'll probably just keep doing normal, except 1 in each corner till I get back to this, and then I might have to add 1 when I'm going around that lump. So just wanted to show that. I forgot to mention that, and that's something that is helpful to know. I'll be back. I forgot to mention that I do put a little bit of stuffing into each piece, and you can see it's not a lot. I just put a tiny bit, and this is cotton I just get out of supplement bottles. We buy a lot of like turmeric and stuff like that. So you just kind of tuck it in there. I use the tip of scissors, which is probably brilliant, but just tuck it in as you go, and then it stiffens it up and gives it a little bit more structure. So I forgot to mention that, so I just wanted to tell you that. I'm moving right along, and I'll be done soon, and I'll be back. Okay, I'm going to show you now how to finish off the edging on the ornament. So I've got just enough space to do one last whatever you want to call it, section, I guess. So I put on my, I can go in one more time fully, so I'm going to go in there. I'm going in one last time, and I'm going to come back up, and what that'll do is put two side by side. So I'll have two side by side. So then you're just gonna, I just poked myself if you saw my hand jerk. Then you're gonna take one bead and you're gonna come out of the hole you're in and you're gonna go into the next one. And that'll make that final little V. See? And then this is what I was telling you I do. I just go through, and if you don't have enough thread, you can put a smaller needle on, but I just go through a bunch of times one direction, then I go through a few times a different direction. This is where having the colored thread is nice, because then it'll, if I was using my lilac thread, it would blend right in. Here, I'm not doing it very neatly because I'm just trying to keep it where you can see it. But just go through a few times. You don't have to make as messy of a spot as I just made. But just go through it a few times. And then, normally I do it a little neater than that. Then after the last time, I just go through one last time. However many times you want to go through. And then I just take my tiny scissors. You can use the ones I was using or your sewing scissors. Snip it off and you're done. And there's the finished piece. And there's the back. Came out really cute. And this white edge picks up the luminous white from the center. But you could do it with purple. You could do a large purple sequin in the middle. Really, you could do anything you want. I'm just in love with these luminescent sequins. I'm trying to remember what they were called, but they are gorgeous. They're the ones I just got. I did a video on them when I got them. So I'll be right back and I'll show you how you put the loop on. And we're just going to do a simple loop. I'm not doing a magnet clasp or anything on this one. I've got another video that shows that, I believe, but I can tell you how I do it. But I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Now, there's two ways you can do this. If you want to hide your knot, and I doubled the thread because I like the loop. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But it's always a good thing, really, to do that when you can, because it makes it stronger. In case a kid pulls on or something. But I make a pretty hefty knot. I cut the tail almost completely off for this. Now, you can come up underneath the sequins if you want to. So sometimes I will hide it by going up under the sequins and then aiming for the middle two beads on top. Because I want to go up through one and down through the other. So you're going to find at the very tip, there's one bead there, a bead on top, and then a bead here. And so just catch that and then come on up through, making sure that your thread is stuck in there, and it is. Okay. You don't want the knot getting caught on the, yeah, I can see. I want to find where my knot is and want to make sure my knot caught the thread. Because you don't want the knot, yeah, the knot's not right there. Okay. So you want to make sure the knot is in the felt, not caught up in the bead. Then you want about 6 inches, so I take a ruler and make sure I have more than 6 inches of thread, which I do, so I have plenty of room to work with. So I usually make about a 3 inch, or 3 inches up and then 3 inches down, so about a 6-inch loop. Now if you want to do a clasp on this because you're going to put it on a rear view mirror or something, then you would simply put on, you'd make two separate. You'd come up through one side, put on as many length of a string as you want, add your clasp, then come back through. I usually go through the jump ring twice, so I'll go around the jump ring, go around the jump ring, head down the beads like I'm going to, you go back down through the beads and out through the bottom and knot it on the back. Then you'd come up through the other one and do the same thing. But on this one, you don't have to come back through the beads because you're simply, let me see if I can get the beads in your sight line here. So basically, I've just got a pile of beads, and I'm just going to pick them up. Let me put my glasses on for this. When I'm working up close, but this is not up close. So I need my glasses. So I'm just going to sit here and pick up beads, and I pull them with my finger. So like I'll pick up a bead and pull it back. And I'll pick up a bead, and then, see, I get them on the needle, and I pull it back. And when I get several on the needle like this, then I'll pull them on to the string. It's just quicker that way. You can pull it very quickly. It's hard. I can't seem to show you this. Let me see if I use my wrong hand, which isn't going to go very well. But you just push the bead up, get to the next bead, push the bead up, get the next bead, push the bead up, get the next bead, push the bead up, and just keep watching until you have enough that you want to. And yes, the needle will flick them too. Kind of like when you play that ants in the pants game with your kids. There. So you're just going to keep doing that. And once you get the loop full, and you can go pretty fast if you're using your prominent hand. I was trying to use my opposite hand, but if you use your prominent hand, you can go pretty quick. And I get the needle pretty full usually before I push the beads on. And then you just do that. And just keep pushing them on. Pushing them on. Just get them all on there till you have 6 inches of beads, which takes a few minutes. At the end of this video, of course, I'm going to record the start showing you the finished piece at the front. But before I do that, when I finish this step, I'll do one last little bit where I show you the big box of 10 pounds of jewelry I just got. I'll let you peek into the box to show you how much jewelry it is. And we're going to do a video on that pretty soon. But as soon as I'm done with this cross, I'm immediately, as you can see, I've been a good girl. I've been putting things away as I go. And I'm going to immediately start on the next one. And I'll even give you a sneak peek on which one I decided to do, because I thought it'd be a lot of fun. I thought I'd do this little chick. I thought this would be a cute little either pin or ornament, because I'd love to use some bright yellows and oranges. So this little chick is next. I'm going to immediately start this the minute this one's done. And in the meantime, I will do one of the jewelry. I don't want to use the word haul anymore. That really seems to be a bad word lately. People don't want to hear haul. But one of my, I don't know what else to call it. But anyway, I'll show you some of the stuff I bought. And I've got 2 bags up there that came together. I've got the little bag my friend sent me, this 10-pound one, and the jewelry box up there. So I'm going to immediately set up this tray and start the chick. But I will also record a video for you showing you what's in one of these treasure boxes, let's call them. But anyway, let me come right back when I get this strung so you don't have to sit here and watch me stringing beads. Well, I guess I can talk to you for a minute. I don't know if you guys, where you guys all live, but we live in North Texas. And my sister-in-law lives in El Paso. And she called me yesterday and said, you need to go to the store because I went in to buy stuff and there was nothing. The store shelves were empty. I'm like, what? I don't watch the news, guys. I don't watch the news. I know nothing about nothing, okay? So I said, okay, well, we'll go up because there's a few things we needed. Turn down the aisle where all the toilet paper, paper towels, paper napkins, other than the fancy napkins that have matching paper plates and stuff, that whole aisle was completely empty. Now, I'm sure a lot of you have experienced the same thing. So, luckily, my daughter called me later and said that we could get toilet paper at Big Lots. Because I have some, but I wanted to make sure, because I've got company this week. Our oldest son and his 2 teenage kids are going to be here from, well, he's here today, but his kids will get here tomorrow, and they'll be here through next Saturday. So I need to make sure I have everything I need. So we went up to a local store called H-E-B. It's a Texas chain. Those of you in Texas will know that. And we eat a basic, mostly, I don't want to say vegan because we're not vegans per se. We eat mostly plant-based though. We will eat meat occasionally when we're out, or dairy, like we'll get bean burritos and just have the cheese put on them. But at home, we don't usually cook with any meat or cheese or dairy. I buy almond milk. I buy, sorry, that was my message. Hold on. Okay. And so we went up and bought some of the things that they would like to eat, like macaroni and cheese, some eggs, stuff we don't normally buy that I know they eat. And so we went over to Big Lots and we were able to get a few packs of toilet paper. And so we're good. We have enough. We already had enough food. We could have lived for months because I buy all my beans and rice in bulk because it's just cheaper and easier. So, I mean, we have like two 20-pound bags of white rice. And that's kind of the only prepping I do is white rice because they say white rice lasts forever. So I'm like, yeah, I'll go ahead and keep a couple bags. Our son loves white rice, so it'll get used. And occasionally I like to cook white rice. So we will cycle those bags through. But we usually eat brown rice, so I'll buy a 25-pound bag from California because that's where the best brown rice is, Lindbergh's. So I keep it in bags in the freezer. I take that 25-pound bag and break it up into Ziploc bags and freeze it. Just keeps the brown rice fresh longer. So I still have quite a bit. I just opened a brand new bag. So that's what we did yesterday. We went to a couple different stores and got what we think we need. And frankly, we'd be fine for months. I mean, the fresh stuff would be gone fairly soon. But I don't know if any of you guys are going through that where you are and what you guys are thinking. Now, I'm not freaked out by any means. I firmly believe we should all... I hate to use the word prep because it has such bad connotations, but I think we should all prep the basics and for this exact situation. If you always have a month's worth of toilet paper, if you always have at least a month's worth of dry goods like rice, beans, canned vegetables, pancake mix, it just needs water. If you have oats or dry cereal that you enjoy, and if you don't use milk a lot, you can buy the shelf-stable almond milk or plant-based milks, and I think you can even buy shelf-stable real milk as well, and you can buy evaporated milk and condensed milk, and those make good substitutes when needed. But I think everyone should have some basics for at least a month, because then if something like this happens, you're not panicked. You don't have to worry. You're like, oh, okay, well, I've got all that stuff. As I use it, like what I try to do is if I want to have 3 bottles of shampoo on hand, when I finish my bottle and I open number 2, I buy another 3rd one. And that way, if we have a week where something happens, one of us doesn't feel good, anything could happen and we're always going to be stocked. And the reason I learned to do that is a dear friend of mine one day, I was at her house years ago. I actually did 7 inches. We'll stop there. And she says, oh, I'm out of Parmesan cheese. So I thought, oh, wow, we're going to have to go to the store and buy Parmesan cheese. She opens her cupboard and she had 2 or 3 more bottles of Parmesan cheese in her cupboard. It's like she kept a store. And then I'm adopted, and when I met my birth mother, she did the same thing. So I'm like, I'm going to start doing that. And I've pretty much done it mostly, most items, but there's times I get low on stuff. So it didn't have a big, the only reason it was a problem for me is I was going to have out-of-town company. The stuff we eat, we had plenty of. But I was a little low of toilet paper for company. So, all right. Anyway, here's I came back through the other, I should have shown you that. I came back down through the other bead. So I came up through a bead, skipped the top of the triangle, and went through the other bead. And then I'm going to do that round and round thing that I did earlier, where I just kind of go, whoops, see it catches on the beads on the back. Where I just go around a few times. And once it is through 2 or 3 times, I go the other direction. You can tie knots too if you prefer. And I used to tie knots, but then I found, see, I'm running out of room on this needle. So you can always, if I had done the inch less like I was supposed to. So what I'm going to do is, in this case, since I messed up, now I will tie knots. I'll just take the 2 threads like this, and you can do this anytime, really, if you have the double threads, and then you can just tie a knot with it. And I will do that in this case because I was supposed to only do 6 inches of beads, and I did 7. So it took an inch that I would have had to go. It's hard to do when you have that little tiny piece of thread you're trying to tie in a knot. There we go. Anyway, I'll knot it 2 or 3 times and call it a day and then trim it. But anyway, that is my cross tutorial. And that's what the back will look like. And you can see if you use a white on the lavender, you do not hardly see it. So a lavender thread would have been nice, but you really don't see the white on a light background. Now if you have a dark background, and it won't affect the beads, where see I thought white was best for these kind of semi-clear beads. But let's say you're using an opaque bead, you could do a black on a dark color. Like if you have a dark cobalt blue or dark black or a black or a dark brown, you know, color like that, then maybe the black thread would be better. Now something like bright green, bright red, either one's going to show up. There's just no helping it. So you can buy the spools of thread on Amazon. Just put beading thread in, and they sell, I thought it was Ceylon. Ceylon was the ones I just used. Let me show you. And they come in all different colors, and I used the purple and the light purple. And I got 36 of these spools for, I think it was $36 like 4 years ago. And I'm going to see if I can show you what I have in here. I have got quite a bit of thread. There's some up in here. And that's the only thread I have found yellow and orange in. I buy these spools here, and you can get them in a lot of colors, but they've never had a yellow or an orange. About the darkest color I've ever gotten was that I've got a brown. I think there's a rusty reddish. It's not true red. It's not true brown. It's kind of a rusty color. And then they've got light pink. There's a gray. But these were pretty exciting. Now there is a nice pretty purple in this. And these usually run about $1.50 a spool. And you can find them in a lot of different, and they've got a couple blues. But these I absolutely love, these Delon, because you can buy tubes of them. They're big tubes at 12 of these. It's this big around and 12 high. 12 of these spools high. And then I got 3 spools for $36, and I think it's up to like $39. But if you get it with your Prime, it's free shipping. Cannot tell you the seller. Just put in beading thread, and it'll show you all the different kinds. I have this spool here, but I think this is silk. And then I have this really old. This is like 30 years old, 20-something years old spool. They don't make them in wood like that. And then this is one I've been using for about 30 years. It's almost gone. Well, almost gone, meaning I probably have about 5 years left if I used it every day, since I use it randomly. And I've got these spools, and the thread goes way out to here in like 5 or 6 different colors now. Red, green, couple blues, beige. I think that's, I don't know, but there's black, white. Anyway, I've got them all different, and I usually go for a. This is a size O. I normally buy a D. These are all a D, but you can get any size and it'll work. This is a D here. See, size D. But you can use any size. It really doesn't matter. But this is where I keep all my threads and my needles, is in this neat little case here. But the colors do come in handy at times. A lot of ornaments. You're going to be collecting your sequins and your felt, it might not be a very bad idea to get some of the, even if you have to get the individual spools, just to get yourself a few colors. Like if you had a red, a green, and a black and a white, that would cover a lot. It really would. It would cover a lot. You do a lot of your Christmas ornaments. Black would do a lot of the dark. White would do a lot of the light. If you did red or green, it would cover that. And most other dark colors or light colors, the white or black would cover. I'm sure there's exceptions, but I think I have a brown maybe? I don't know. I've got a bunch of them. But anyway, so this is this tutorial. And let me turn off the camera, and then I'm going to show you that big box of jewelry. So let me go get it. And let me turn off the camera, and I'll be right back. It was sent to me in a medium size. This is a medium size. What does it say? Priority Moira. It doesn't say medium size flat rate, but I think that's about what it is. But I'm not going to let you see too much, but this is how much jewelry. You can see how deep the box is. Here's my ruler. So the box is 5.5 inches by about 11 inches and then about a foot long maybe. Yeah, right around a foot long. And that's how full it is. There's a lot of stuff in here. Some single earrings, a lot of bangles, and then there's some really fun stuff in here too. I'm not going to show you too much because I want to show you when I open it. But that is the big box of jewelry that I purchased. And I will be showing you that in an upcoming video, along with, I've got so much other jewelry to show you. So anyway, that's that, and I will be back soon. I'm going to work on that little chicken and get that done, and I'll have that tutorial in a few days, and then I'll have the next box or bag of jewelry in between. Like I said, I have a big jewelry box over there. I don't know if you can see that big brown jewelry box. I recorded that and it didn't come out. And then above it, behind that gray box up there, behind that is 2-gallon bags that were 2 lots that I bought separately. And I'm glad I did, because she had split earrings between the 2 lots. Because I knew this because I bought one from her before with lots of single earrings. So just for fun, I won both of her lots the second time. And I found matched sets, 1/2 in each bag. That was a little bit upsetting. But anyway, thinking of all the sets I didn't have the other half to. But anyway, so I've got a lot of jewelry up there to show you. I've got a little bag of jewelry up there as well. Plus this big box. So we've got a lot to do. I'm going to be doing that chick, and I've got about 3 or 4 other ornaments I'm going to do for Easter. So I'll be back soon, and thanks for watching. I'd love it if you'd hit the like button. It really helps me. And if you haven't subscribed, I hope you'll give me a chance and subscribe, because I do a lot of the jewelry, and I do a lot of beadwork, and I do some crafts. And now I'm going to say going forward, there'll probably be a little less of the jewelry quote-unquote hauls, because I'm not going to be shopping, but I will be showing you stuff I list. And I think that's going to be a little series I do, where just little 5-minute videos maybe every day that I list. Here's what I'm listing today, and I will post it after I've listed those items, just so anybody that's interested, and I don't care if you just want to look at the pictures. I don't expect anyone to run and buy them, but I know some people like to look at the pictures as well. So that way, if you want to see it, I have to put 10 pictures on. I think it's on Etsy has 10 and eBay has 12, something like that. So even if you just want to go look at the pictures, I will post those things for you. I'm seeing my hand in the background here. And I'll do maybe a little series where maybe once a day or every other day, whenever I'm listing, I'll show you what I'm listing for that day, and you can go look at it if you want to see the pictures, because I'm not sure how much blogging I'll do. It just seems to be hard to do listing and blogging and videos, when I think the videos and the listings are the most important, and I'll vlog when I can. I'll be back soon. I thank you so much. Bye.